The ZR1, the peak iteration of the Chevrolet Corvette. The sole purpose of the ZR1 since the 70s was to showcase cutting-edge technological advancements with raw power to pair with the best-in-class track performance, all within a package that encompasses the standards akin to its European counterparts. The bread and butter for the ZR1 line were always their drivetrains, from its British-engineered dual overhead cam small block all the way up to the supercharged overhead valve LS and LT variants, which tiptoed around the boundaries of what was safe. In this episode of A Car in History, we'll go over the Chevrolet Corvette ZR1. The foundation of most Corvettes starts with Zora Arkus Duntov, aka the father of the Corvette. Over the later portion of the 1960s, Zora Duntov endorsed the idea for a higher performing Corvette model. In essence, street-legal race cars that will be able to compete in SCCA racing events, along with being affordable to own and easy to operate. Because of this program, it gave birth to the 1963 C2 Z06 Corvette and the 1970 C3 ZR1 Corvette. The C3 Generation Corvette ZR1 was very odd in its delivery since General Motors never officially marketed the ZR1. The only way of knowing the C3 ZR1 even existed was to know it. Wow, what a concept. For an additional $1,010.50, or $8,000 today, you received an engine called the LT1, which was a high-compression 350 cubic inch small block Chevy that incorporated mechanical lifters along with the more aggressive camshaft. The ZR1's LT1 induction system was a Holley 780 CFM 4-barrel carburetor that was originally meant for big block engines. Paired with the M22 Rock Crusher 4-speed manual, the ZR1 made 370 horsepower at 5,800 RPM and 380 foot-pounds of torque or 515 Nm at 4,000 RPM, and redlines to 6,500 RPM. The ZR1 option forced you to ditch power steering, air conditioning, and the radio, which in a nutshell made the ZR1 a lightweight version of the C3 Corvette. But it didn't just stop there, no pun intended. Heavy-duty disc brakes, upgraded sway bars to pair with the just-mentioned M22 Rock Crusher 4-speed manual made the C3 ZR1 just a street-legal race car, giving the C3 ZR1 a quarter-mile time of 14 seconds at 103 miles an hour with tires from the 1970s. Unfortunately, increasing emission standards put an end to the LT1, canceling the LT1 at the end of 1972. Between 1970 and 1972, only 53 C3 ZR1 Corvettes were ordered. The C4 Corvette debuted in 1984 and would get a chance to have a high-performance variant of its own, with help from an unexpected candidate, the Lotus Engineering Company, who were known for building engines for Formula One cars. General Motors acquired Lotus in 1986, and together their objective was to develop a high-performance V8 carrying the ZR1 nameplate, with 4 key points to tackle: fuel economy, acceleration, drivability, and adaptability into the C4 platform. This 3-year-long pursuit brought the LT5, which was the first dual overhead cam engine in a Corvette. General Motors enlisted the help from Mercruiser, which was a division of Mercury Marine. The reason why General Motors employed Mercruiser was due to the LT5 project being too small for Chevrolet's own engine plant, and retooling a factory for a car with such small production numbers was too expensive. Also, having a reputation of quality engine work with high-tech equipment and, most importantly, over 40 years of experience working with aluminum would help too. The LT5's 350 cubic inch displacement was made possible by having a larger stroke and smaller bore than the standard small block Chevy. The LT5 utilized 4 camshafts, 32 valves, 3 intake throttles, and had a primary and secondary cam for improved fuel economy, which helped in giving the LT5 low-speed drivability as well as top-end power with 80% throttle at 3,000 RPM up. The ZR1's fuel system was also taken into account, using 16 fuel injectors, 1 for each intake runner, and 2 fuel pumps, which the ECM could shut off 8 fuel injectors and stop the secondary pump for improvement in fuel efficiency. The LT5 had a compression ratio of 11.25 to 1, making 375 horsepower, 130 more than the base L98 motor. In 1993, horsepower jumped to 405. This jump in horsepower came due to having revisions in the cylinder heads and exhaust manifolds. The C4 ZR1's top speed was 175 miles an hour attached to a ZF 6-speed manual. The ZR1's primary focus was to hold performance similar to its European counterparts for a fraction of the price, which it did, with the C4 ZR1 holding similar performance to the 964 911 Turbo at half the cost. However, there was one issue. The C4 ZR1, just like its predecessor, the C3 ZR1, there wasn't really much to distinguish the base model to the ZR1 model, which gave customers a hard time shelling out an additional $27,000 over the base Corvette. Despite breaking a 50-year FIA 24-hour endurance record of 175 miles an hour or 281 kilometers per hour, with only stops for fuel, drivers, and tire changes. The record that the ZR1 broke was set in 1940 by the Mormon Meteor 3 at 161 miles an hour or 259 kilometers per hour. The Mormon Meteor 3 was basically a modified Duesenberg, with a 1570 cubic inch dual overhead cam V12. C401 production ended in 1995 with 6,939 units produced. The C401, however, still left its mark as the king of the hill. Throughout the decade of the 2000s, the ZR1 nameplate would go idle, no pun intended, with the C5 and C6 Z06 being the king of the Corvette model through the decade. Despite General Motors being on the brink of bankruptcy in the late 2000s, development efforts for the Corvette pushed on and remained unaffected, with word on the street that a new developed engine would soon make headway and find its way into an even higher performing Corvette model displaying the ZR1 badge. The 2009 ZR1's LS9 was a hand-built overhead valve V8 that is more related to the 6.2-liter LS3 from the base Corvette, more than the 7-liter V8 from the C6 Z06. The LS9 and LS3 share the same 4.065-inch bore and 3.622-inch stroke. However, the LS9's aluminum block is stronger in its casting. The rotating assembly consists of a forged crankshaft with titanium alloy connecting rods that were developed on the Z06, along with carrying its dry sump oiling system as well. The compression ratio dropped from 10.7 to 1 in the LS3 to 9.9 to 1 in the LS9. This drop in compression ratio came because of the use of a Eaton 4-lobe TVS 2300 supercharger, making 10.5 pounds of boost. With all of this, the C6 ZR1 produced 638 horsepower at 6,500 RPM and 604 pound-feet of torque at 3,800 RPM, with a red line of 6,600 RPM, attached to a Tremec 6-speed manual, with a top speed of 205 miles an hour, being the first production Corvette to surpass the 200-mile-an-hour mark. This promptly signaled to the world that the king was back. The C6 ZR1 also fixed the issues of looking like the lower trim models like the C4 and C3 did, thanks in part to the dual fender vents, larger fender flares, polycarbonate window, and huge carbon ceramic Brembo brakes. All of this gave the C6 ZR1 a sticker price of over $100,000, with the MSRP of $103,300, being the first production Corvette that was sold by Chevy with a starting price of over $100,000. Even with its level of performance, it still provoked astonishment, especially since, like most Corvettes, the interiors weren't up to $100,000 standard. The 11.75 mile at 130 and a 3.5 second 0 to 60 time still wasn't enough to justify it over the Z06's performance. The C6 ZR1 ended up selling less units than the C4 ZR1 at 4,684 units. The 7th generation Corvette, known internally at Chevrolet as the last of the front-engine Corvettes, with the mid-engine Corvette being envisioned just before the C7 generation was set to kick off, using test mules to work out suspension geometry. All of this meant that if the ZR1 name was used on the C7 platform, it would need to uphold the standards and even surpass it to carry the nameplate for the front-engine Corvettes to go out with a bang. The LT5 in the C7 Corvette ZR1 is an overhead valve supercharged 6.2-liter V8 with a bore of 4.06 inches and a stroke of 3.62 inches. The supercharger used in the LT5 was a Eaton R2650, which produced 12 pounds of boost, giving the LT5 a compression ratio of 11.5 to 1. All of this gave the C7 ZR1 755 horsepower at 6,400 RPM and 715 pound-feet of torque at 3,600 RPM. With the red line of 6,500 RPM. The C7 ZR1 hit 60 miles per hour in 2.8 seconds and completed the quarter-mile time at 10.6 seconds at 134 miles an hour, with a top speed of 212 miles per hour. The C7 ZR1 came with an option called ZTK, which was basically a track package for an additional $2,995. The ZTK package incorporated a larger wing that generated 950 pounds of downforce along with Michelin Pilot Supersport 2 tires, replacing the standard Michelin Pilot Supersport tires. The C7 ZR1 ZTK topped out at 202 miles an hour. The C7 ZR1 was also the first ZR1 available with a convertible option as well as a removable hardtop for coupes. The C7 ZR1 was also the first ZR1 to be available with 2 transmission options, a 7-speed manual made by Tremec, and General Motors 8L90 torque converter 8-speed automatic. The 7-speed manual ZR1s hit 60 miles an hour in 3.2 seconds and completed the quarter-mile time in 10.8 seconds at 133 miles an hour. Since the ZR1 is a car focused on being the best Chevrolet has to offer, carbon ceramic Brembo brakes come standard. The C7 generation Corvette ZR1 was only available for 1 year and had a base price of $121,995 for the coupe and $126,495 for the convertible. During its production run, only 2,953 units were produced. The C8 generation of the Chevrolet Corvette was revealed on July 18th of 2019, a night finally stamping it as an official day in the history of the Corvette by being the first official production mid-engine Corvette. General Motors felt the only direction for the Corvette to go was mid-engine, since General Motors achieved all there was to achieve with the front-engine platform of the Corvette. The C7 Generation ZR1's goal was for the front-engine Corvettes to finally have its drive into the sunset. Many enthusiasts, including myself, already knew that the C8 was bound to show up with the ZR1 option. The only question was, when would it be? One of the key points of the Chevrolet Corvette throughout its history was performance at an affordable standpoint. Many speculated with the move to the mid-engine platform, the C8 would be a rather expensive car from the Corvette standpoint, with some speculating the base MSRP of around $80,000 to $90,000, which was rather expensive for an entry-level Corvette. The president of General Motors, Mark Royce, stated at the unveiling of the C8 Corvette, the C8's base MSRP would start at under $60,000. The C8 generation of the Chevrolet Corvette officially went on sale to the public in February of 2020 and started at a base MSRP of $59,995 for the coupe and $67,495 for the convertible. The Z51 package would add an additional $5,000 to the MSRP. The Z51 package included performance suspension, an electronic limited slip differential, Z51 specific tuned brakes, a performance exhaust, which is a standalone option but can also be included if you bought the base Corvette. The performance exhaust also has features like stealth mode, tour mode, sport mode, and track mode. The Z51 package also came with a Z51 specific front splitter and rear spoiler, heavy-duty cooling, and specifically tuned shorter gear ratios, from 4.89 to 1 in the non-Z51 Corvettes to 5.17 to 1 in the Z51 package. In terms of tires, the 2020 Chevrolet Corvette runs 245/35 ZR19s for the front and 305/30 ZR20s for the rear. The base 2020 Chevrolet Corvette Stingray comes with Michelin Pilot All-Season 4 tires as standard, with Z51 equipped Stingrays running Michelin Pilot Sport 4S's. Unlike previous generations of the Corvette, the C8 generation would look to a more global audience, being available in right-hand drive configurations, being the first time in history that the Corvette came in right-hand drive from production. The 2020 Chevrolet Corvette Stingray was powered by a 5th generation small block Chevrolet overhead valve V8 called the LT2. The LT2 features a bore of 4.06 inches and a stroke of 3.62 inches, displacing a total of 376 cubic inches. The LT2 is naturally aspirated. It features a compression ratio of 11.5 to 1 and it features dry sump lubrication, which was the first for a base Corvette. It was attached to a Tremec TR9080 8-speed dual-clutch transmission, being the first time a dual-clutch transmission was offered by Chevrolet in a Corvette, being the only transmission available for the Corvette, which started controversy amongst enthusiasts. The C8 Stingray was able to hit 60 miles an hour in 3 seconds, with Z51-equipped C8 Stingrays hitting 0 to 60 in 2.9 seconds, being the first time a base-model Corvette was able to hit its sub-3-second 0 to 60 time. The 2020 Corvette Stingray made between 490 to 495 horsepower at 6,450 RPM and 465 pound-feet of torque at 5,150 RPM, with the red line of 6,500 RPM and a top speed of 194 miles per hour. The 2020 Corvette Stingray was just a preview of what was to come for the mid-engine platform of the Chevrolet Corvette. With the C8 Stingray setting the stage for the C8 platform, the C8 generation of the Z06 would soon follow. The C8 generation of the Z06 was unveiled on October 26, 2021, making its official production start in November of 2022 for the 2023 model year. It entered the market as the top dog of the Corvette lineup for the time being. The C8 Z06, just like the C8 Stingray, made history for the Corvette. The C8 Z06 was the first ever Corvette to feature a flat plane crank engine. It revived the dual overhead cam valve train layout last used in the C4 generation of the ZR1. This time, it was featured in a Z06. The flat plane crank engine used in the C8 generation of the Z06 was a 5th generation small block Chevrolet V8 called the LT6, internally known at General Motors as Gemini. The LT6 is made from aluminum. It features a bore of 4.104 inches and a stroke of 3.15 inches, displacing a total of 333 cubic inches. The LT6 has a compression ratio of 12.5 to 1 and features dry sump lubrication. The 2023 Corvette Z06 was still attached to the same DCT found in the Stingray and could hit 60 miles per hour in 2.6 seconds with a top speed of 195 miles per hour. The 2023 Corvette Z06 made 670 horsepower at 8,400 RPM and 460 pound-feet of torque at 6,300 RPM, with the rev limit of 8,600 RPM. This made the LT6 the highest horsepower naturally aspirated production engine ever built. The 2023 Corvette Z06 held down enthusiasts for the time being in preparation for the release of the C8 generation of the ZR1. But before the ZR1 could be released, Chevrolet would release another trim level of the Corvette never before seen. Enter the C8 Corvette E-Ray, revealed on January 17th of 2023. It introduced hybrid technology to a Corvette for the first time. The E-Ray would still be powered by the same LT2 overhead valve V8 found in the Stingray, which powered the rear wheels. The front wheels would be powered by a 1.9 kilowatt-hour lithium-ion battery that produced 165 horsepower and 125 pound-feet of torque. It featured regenerative braking and stealth mode, which was meant for low speeds up to 45 miles per hour for up to 4 miles. The Corvette E-Ray was still attached to the same dual-clutch transmission. It was able to hit 60 miles per hour in 2.5 seconds with an electronically limited 183 miles per hour top speed. Combined with the LT2 small block and 1.9 kilowatt-hour lithium-ion battery, the Corvette E-Ray made a combined 655 horsepower and 595 pound-feet of torque. Despite the E-Ray not quite being a ZR1, it was still a new look into what GM would look to introduce for the future of the Corvette models with an introduction to hybrid technology, helping set the stage for what a future ZR1 model could potentially have. The C8 generation of the Corvette ZR1 was revealed in a teaser trailer made by Chevrolet that was released on April 10th of 2024. Officially being revealed for viewing eyes on June 25th of 2024 at a private event at the Miami Track Concourse Club. Officially being revealed to the public on Chevrolet's official YouTube channel on July 25th of 2024. The ZR1 throughout its history introduced cutting-edge technology never before seen in a Corvette. The C8 ZR1 would go on to do exactly that, surpassing expectations, reaching levels of performance never before seen from a Corvette, let alone a mass-market American sports car. The C8 platform from day one was designed with high horsepower in mind. The C8 ZR1 is powered by a 5th generation small block Chevrolet V8 called the LT7, developed along the shared Gemini codename alongside the LT6. The LT7 still has the same basic engine architecture as the LT6, with it being an aluminum block flat plane crank dual overhead cam V8. The LT7 has a bore of 4.104 inches and a stroke of 3.15 inches, displacing a total of 333 cubic inches. The LT7 would go on to incorporate modifications specifically engineered for its unique performance demands, not just for turbocharging, but overall durability, thermal management, and high-pressure operation. The LT7 is equipped with two 76mm Borg-Warner monoscroll ball-bearing twin turbochargers featuring ported shrouds and electronic wastegates. Boost is managed by dual engine-mounted water-to-air charge coolers, allowing the system to deliver a consistent 20 to 25 psi of boost pressure. With the addition of the twin turbos, this gave the LT7 a compression ratio of 9.8 to 1, being the first time the Corvette from factory featured turbos. The LT7's twin turbochargers are integrated with the exhaust manifolds, placing them as close as possible to the exhaust valves. This compact design significantly reduces the volume and distance between the exhaust valves and the turbine wheels, preserving thermal energy and enabling a quicker spool up. The result of all of this is improved throttle response and minimal turbo lag, crucial for any high-performance application. The LT6 broke grounds by being the most powerful naturally aspirated V8 from a production engine. The LT7 broke grounds for Chevrolet by being the first production small block to break over 1,000 horsepower. The LT7 wasn't just an LT6 with twin turbos attached to it. The LT7 features components purpose-built for it. The crankshaft includes additional machining on the end counterweights to provide clearance for the piston, which sits lower relative to the deck surface. The connecting rods are still made from titanium, similar to the LT6, but the LT7's rods are shorter, with the length of 5.5 inches versus the LT6's 5.7 inches. The LT7's connecting rods feature a significantly larger pin end, providing enhanced support for higher combustion pressures and accommodating a heavier piston. The LT7's piston comes in at around 476 grams compared to the LT6 446 grams. Additionally, the wrist pins are thicker for added strength. The LT7's pistons are dished instead of domed. This helps control combustion chamber temperatures and reduce the risk of knock under high boost pressure. The LT7 features a 7th dry sump stage as opposed to the LT6's 6 dry sump stages. The LT7's dry sump system features 4 scavenge stages dedicated to the crankbase for efficient bottom end oil removal, one for the left cylinder head and front cover, one for the right cylinder head and rear drains, and a final stage specifically for the twin turbochargers to prevent pooling of oil and ensure reliable turbo operation. The cylinder head is CNC machined just like the LT6, but is purpose-built for the LT7. The LT7 features 2 types of fuel injection, direct injection and port fuel injection. To support cooling, the C8 ZR1 uses 15 heat exchangers. The frunk, which is available on all Corvette models except the ZR1, is now an S-duct which houses the heat exchanger. The ZR1 also uses a split window designed for extra vents, even having cooling ducts on the rear fenders. The C8 ZR1 still comes equipped with the same 8-speed Tremec TR9080 dual-clutch transmission and features the same gear ratios as the Z06. But the C8 ZR1's TR9080 is modified to handle the torque output of the LT7. The gears used are wider and feature a stronger output drive. All of this put together gave the 2025 Chevrolet Corvette ZR1 1,064 horsepower at 7,000 RPM and 828 pound-feet of torque at 6,000 RPM, with the rev limit of 8,000 RPM. The 2025 Chevrolet Corvette ZR1 hit 60 miles per hour in 2.3 seconds, passing the quarter mile in 9.6 seconds with a trap speed of 150 miles an hour and a top speed of 233 miles per hour. For an additional $8,495, the 2025 ZR1 could be equipped with the RPO code TOM, which is basically a carbon fiber aero package. The carbon fiber aero package consisted of a high-mounted carbon fiber rear wing which generated 1,200 pounds of downforce at top speed, front dive planes, hood gurney flap, carbon fiber underbody strakes, carbon fiber front splitter, as well as airflow tuning for cooling and balance. Similar to the C7 generation of the ZR1, the C8 ZR1 also comes with a ZTK track package as an option. The 2025 ZR1's ZTK package can be purchased for an additional $1,500. The ZTK option is only available if you purchase the TOM package. The ZTK package features Michelin Pilot Sport Cup 2R tires versus the standard Michelin Pilot Sport 4S's. The ZTK option also equips you with Magnetic Selective Ride Control 4.0. In terms of tire dimensions, the 2025 Chevrolet Corvette ZR1 runs 275/30 ZR20s for the front and 345/25 ZR21s for the rear. The top speed for the 2025 ZR1 equipped with the ZTK package is between 200 to 210 miles per hour. In terms of brakes, the ZR1s come equipped with carbon ceramic rotors across all models. The front rotors have a diameter of 15.7 inches with a thickness of 1.5 inches. The rear brake rotors have a diameter of 15.4 inches with a thickness of 1.3 inches, coming equipped with 6 piston fixed calipers up front and 4 piston fixed calipers in the rear. The base MSRP for the 2025 Chevrolet Corvette ZR1 at the 1LZ level is $174,995 for the 1LZ Coupe, and $184,995 for the 1LZ convertible. The base MSRP for the 3LZ trim level for the 2025 Chevrolet Corvette ZR1 is $185,995 for the coupe and $195,995 for the convertible. If equipped with the TOM package and ZTK package, the 1LZ Coupe's base MSRP would be $184,990 and $194,990 for the convertible. The base MSRP for the 3LZ Coupe equipped with the TOM package and ZTK package would run $195,990 and $205,990 for the convertible. A standalone option across all 2025 Chevrolet Corvette ZR1 models is RPO code SU1, which are 10-spoke carbon fiber wheels for an additional $13,995. As of the recording of this video, the RPO code SU1 isn't available for all 2025 ZR1 models due to limited availability, but will look to be available to order for the 2026 model year and beyond. The 2025 ZR1 was a bold step for Chevrolet and American engineering, entering hypercar levels of performance for a fraction of what its European counterparts could muster up. But as insane as the 2025 ZR1 has shown to be, the C8 generation of the ZR1 hadn't even reached its final form. Ever since the debut of the C8 Corvette, many people in the automotive space were expecting a trim level above the ZR1. Most were expecting it to be called the Zora, which paid tribute to Zora Arkus Duntov, the father of the Corvette, who always wanted the Corvette to be mid-engine since the late 1950s. After the release of the C8 Stingray, the key points many were speculating about the C8 Zora was that the Zora would be supercharged and twin turbocharged, featuring all-wheel drive with over 1,000 horsepower. 11 months after the C8 ZR1 was revealed, we would get something similar to that. On June 17th of 2025, Chevrolet revealed the Corvette ZR1X. The ZR1X is a combination of Chevrolet's showcasing of the LT7 engine paired with the Corvette's E-Ray front axle, which makes 186 horsepower and 145 pound-feet of torque. This all equates to a total horsepower and torque output of 1,250 horsepower and 973 pound-feet of torque, attached to the same 8-speed dual-clutch transmission found in the ZR1. The Chevrolet Corvette ZR1X would be able to hit 60 miles an hour in under 2 seconds and pass the quarter mile in under 9 seconds. In terms of the brakes, the ZR1X comes with continuously woven carbon ceramic rotors versus the regular C8 ZR1's long strand carbon ceramic rotors. The ZR1X's carbon ceramic rotors measure 16.5 inches front to back, coming equipped with Alcon 10-piston fixed calipers up front and 6-piston fixed calipers in the rear, being the first production car to feature a 10-piston caliper setup. As mentioned earlier, since the ZR1X has a slightly modified version of the Corvette's E-Ray front axle, it also features stealth mode, with the same top speed and driving range. The ZR1X isn't available for public sale yet, as according to Chevrolet, availability will be available in late 2025 as a 2026 model year. But many around the automotive industry are expecting a base MSRP of $190,000, with fully loaded ZR1Xs expecting to push a base MSRP of $260,000 depending on configurations. The ZR1 and ZR1X is a declaration of American engineering, whether on the street or on the circuit. The 2025 Chevrolet Corvette ZR1 and 2026 Corvette ZR1X live up to the meaning of what it means to be a Corvette, which is now achieving hypercar levels of performance while blending affordability and usability along with practicality. The Chevrolet Corvette ZR1, the peak iteration of the Chevrolet Corvette. With a legacy that spans back to the 1970s, it was built to showcase Chevrolet's ability to create cutting-edge technology, all within a package that encompasses the standards akin to its European counterparts while tiptoeing around the boundaries of what is safe. From overhead valve V8s, all the way up to a dual overhead cam British engineered small block that broke speed records, to now a twin turbocharged flat plane crank dual overhead cam V8 that are now venturing into hypercar territory. The ZR1 in any decade will always be the peak iteration of the Chevrolet Corvette and remain the king of American sports car engineering.